no introduction, just an invitation. You're invited to introspection, internal inquiry, past the individual to the indivisible, inner innocence, intuitive intelligence, instantly inspiring, going inwardly to infinity, including all inclusively.
But Ramana's practices, what he advocated was very simple actually. Always just to find out what is, when we use the word I, when we use the phrase I am, really to discover what that is, because for the most part the I am is taken to be just the body-mind, the personality. When we speak, when we say I, often we're referring to our personality, but the personality is a severe distortion on what the pure I is, because I really just points to consciousness. And that's all that needs to happen, is that as we somehow check in, when the question, who am I, is asked, it is to really check again whether the I that we're using and the context we're using it is being used to refer to ourselves as a person rather than consciousness. The more we discover that almost always we are referring to I as person and personality, the more we become conscious of that, the more the habit will change. Just with being conscious that, again, I'm speaking as the mind, again, I'm just speaking as the body. When am I ever relating of myself as consciousness? Almost never. So just being conscious of that already begins to turn things around, and the movement of the attention turn towards the source again, and gradually it becomes increasingly natural to feel and speak and be as I, consciousness, not I, person. However, many people misunderstand the teaching, and they talk about going deeply into some state, like going deep into silence and so on. This is not the teaching actually of Ramana. It is not about going deep into silence, you see, because silence has no depth actually. It just is. And when you realize who you actually are, you come into a natural silence, because it is silence. It has no depth, it has no measurement, it's just immeasurable silence. You know? So I've found and heard of people doing so many deep practices and deep, and I said, when I listen, I said very often, but that's not what he was teaching. That is only, again, to develop a kind of practice as though it is so difficult to realize the self. It is not difficult to realize the self. First of all, you are already the self. This is what I am showing. Then what we can say is, it appears as though already although we are already the self, as the masters have said, then why is it that my feeling is I am not yet the self? This is a credible question, see, and a doubt. Then the master tell you, well, the reason why you don't realize you're the self is because you keep identifying yourself as personality. Now, personality, you're able to see personality like you're looking at anything else. If I talk about my feelings, you know that these are transient, they come and go. You know that they're transient, they come and go. My feelings, your feelings, any feelings, they're coming and going. Also, if you talk about personality, it is also coming and going. You're not at all concerned about your personality when you're on your own. It's only when you meet another human being, we have this psychological tension, and it's as though this meeting reminds you to be a person. It doesn't necessarily do that, but our conditioning make us feel that, somehow we have to be something special. We have to be nice, we have to be open, we have to be something. And that psychological self-consciousness creates a kind of tension which amounts to us feeling that we don't really want to meet people anyway, if that is the outcome. If you could meet anyone and still remain as yourself, even an angel or a lion, then you'd be totally happy, in fact. The fact is that we tend to feel that in encountering other beings, it affects the way that we are within ourselves and takes us away from ourselves. That is not a fundamental truth. It's just experience like that. Because so much investment is given to the sense of personality. Like that. And because in some way, consciously or unconsciously, we invest tremendous energy into preserving our personality, because we feel inside our minds that our personality is the fact. Whereas for one who has realized the self, the personality is just a fiction. And that is the only change that needs to happen when we realize, recognize that we are the self and not the personality. It's not enough to be taught that, because the teaching still just stays in the head. It's just somehow you have to contemplate it, reflect on it, and with the guidance of a real master, they're able to see when you are avoiding that, and when somehow your attention is really dropped inside that recognition. But all the other practices, such as trying to be more this or concentrating a lot or something, it is not needed.
It's lovely that you're telling me this.
Yeah, and I say this because a lot of times I feel that there's a lot of wasted practices, and it's almost as though the psychological mind or personality is excited to be doing those practices because it keeps it alive. It's like you're doing the practice so that your mind stays alive as a practicer. You see? It's not that you should not practice, but at least practice the right thing. Understand the master's teachings and practice the right thing. So many people, they go and they sit in the cave for 3 hours, 4 hours, and it feels beautiful.
Yeah, that's the trick though, isn't it? It's being attached to the feeling.
It feels beautiful, but if you come out and you're out of your cave and you feel again distracted, then I don't see the point of that.
Yeah, it's a waste.
To go into the cave is not to sit to enjoy an experience. To go into the cave is to completely recognize what you are not. One should not just sit in the cave just being silent, or like silence, which is the phenomenal silence, which is the silence that we try to do, is not going to do anything by itself. It will give you momentary joy and silence and stillness, but the understanding of what you are is much more profound, and it is not temporary. It is the silence that is, not the silence that is created. So I feel it's very important to clarify that, because I see a lot of people, they are attached to walking around the mountain or so on, but you're not to be attached to walking around the mountain. If you're walking around the mountain with an open heart, with a heart that says yes to the truth, this is good. But to just walk around the mountain like it is something that the more you walk around it, the more merits you get, I don't think that is the truth. To sit in the cave for 5 hours doesn't make you better than the person who sits in the cave for 15 minutes. What is important is that you find out what you are and you stay as what you are. And even the sentence, the statement to stay as what you are, after a while, if you do, you will not need any effort to stay as what you are, because the truth doesn't have to stay as what it is. It cannot be other than what it is.
I'd like to share something with you that happened at a weekend.
Okay.
So something woke up and saw that there was, it's really difficult for me to put it into words, but it felt like an addiction to beingness. So there was something behind, because it's very easy to rest. It's very easy to rest and just to watch, the bodily sensations and things coming and going. But there was something that woke up and saw that resting as well. And it's really sweet that you should be offering this right now, because what was seen was kind of like exactly as you say, you know, it's like this, it's like this, it's completely clear, everything is totally clear. And then I felt this tendency to drop into the body and enjoy. And at the moment you said effortless, something saw that there had still been some kind of enjoyment of the...
Because the enjoyment is okay in itself as a fleeting experience, but not as an attachment.
Yeah.
Because then it brings in a quality, it brings in a conditioning, or a condition that is the thing I need to do, rather than what is.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
And here is where some mistake I think is being made, because there's a group of people, they call themselves Neo Advaitists or something like that. And for a while there was some confusion, because people would refer to me as a Neo Advaitist until I found out what it was all about. And I said, I'm not a Neo Advaitist. I'm not an Advaitist either. I don't know what I am. But I'm not a Neo Advaitist. And I'll tell you, they have something, and I wanted to clarify now, they have a point of view which is actually quite truthful up to a point, and I would like to take a moment to talk about that. There is some misunderstanding between the Advaita Vedanta practitioners and the Neo Advaita, I would call it school of thought. I'm going to put it like school of thought, because they are saying there's nothing to do, there's nothing to practice, nothing in that is, okay? Actually, that is true when you realize the self, but not before. And so what is happening, their mistake is that they're intellectually understanding this and thinking that their intellectual understanding amounts to the realization of it, and it is not. And I'm able to see them and point out and challenge them about this, because I know when this person is still there.
Yeah.
You understand?
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
But what they are saying still brought a refreshing change to the whole traditional Advaita scene, because it was something more fresh. It's like now it's already like this and so on. Whereas in some entrenched Advaita traditional perspective, there are people who are devoted to the tradition of Advaita and doing intense, deep, serious work, which is not required actually. But some work is required.
Yeah.
Some practice is necessary in order to authenticate the experience. It's not enough to just say there's nobody there, so there's no point in doing it.
Yeah.
You see? And this is where misunderstanding has been happening between these two areas of philosophical thought, let's put it like that.
Yeah.
One is saying that you need to work at it, and work it takes time and so on. The other one says it takes no time. And somewhere between both of them is the truth. The Neo Advaitists are saying, well, there's nobody there to practice. I said, well, there's nobody there to practice once the realization has occurred. But before the realization has occurred, you are still living as an entity, and that entity needs to be blown away.
Yeah.
And some practice, some looking, some confirming, some verification needs to happen. And they're denying that. But they really hurt themselves by denying that, because then they don't actually... It's like they swallow a capsule that itself doesn't break down. If you swallow a capsule that is biodegradable, then you can say, okay, it breaks down deeper down. But they are swallowing a capsule, a conceptual capsule that doesn't break down. It just remains as some closed stuff inside you.
Yeah.
That is the mistake that they are making. And the pure Advaita Vedanta tends to take themselves too seriously, and is trying so hard to work hard and to work hard, and they miss the point also.
Yeah.
I would say amongst the Neo Advaitists, I would liken, they won't like what I'm going to say, but I would liken, if you keep saying this does not exist, that does not exist, and so on, and you don't give people the chance to explore that for themselves, you have created a new belief system, and effectively another dead religion, because unless people have really brought that into cellularly into their own being, they have not actually grasped it.
Yeah.
They have only grafted it into their mind.
Yeah.
And they will keep on just producing parrots, Advaita parrots basically, and no one who actually is as detonated their ego.
Yeah.
And the Vedantists are still waiting to do something which itself cannot be done. Now, at the same time, from either of those paths, and I call Neo Advaita a path also. They don't like that because they like this thing, well, there's no path, there's nobody there. But there are definitely somebodies. I've met them, and there are definitely people in them.
There's definitely people in them.
They would like to walk around like they're empty suitcases, but they're not. They are nutcases actually. Because they are carrying this idea that they are free, but there's still somebody inside there who is not free.
Yeah.
And as in all religion, and this is maybe the joke of God, because I see it also in the expressions of Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga. These are to suit the different practitioners and the temperaments of the different people. But as you follow deeply the part of Jnana Yoga, of the philosophical temperament, if you follow it genuinely, it will bring you a little bit, you'll develop some Bhakti Yoga on the way. You develop some Karma Yoga on the way. What it means, if you are a Jnana Yoga practitioner, meaning that you are the path of understanding, as you go deeply into understanding, your heart begins to open. You start to feel the energy of love. You also become less selfish, and so you will do actions in the world, but without looking for the fruits of them. This is Karma Yoga. If you are a Bhakti Yoga, studying the part of devotion and surrender, if you go deep into the surrender, you'll develop wisdom. So you'll come into Jnana Yoga. And also your actions will be much less selfish. So you'll come into Karma Yoga also. If you're a Karma Yogi and you're practicing Karma Yoga, as you go more deeply into that selfless activity, you come into a kind of wisdom naturally. And where there's wisdom, you'll come into love naturally. So they all fulfill themselves. It's like you cannot have a bird flying on one wing. It has to have both wings and a tail, basically. So anyone who is genuine is going to find that their practices incorporate the others, or they cross over, they meet, they join each other somehow.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that is missing these days. Everybody is belonging to one political party or another. And spirituality cannot be a political party. It has to be an openness. It's the only area in the human kingdom that really brings you eventually in a total roundedness, so that you have to, in genuine discovery, your heart and your mind encompasses and embraces the whole universe. You cannot be a one-trick pony. You cannot be, I'm only non-duality. Because non-duality takes its meaning from duality also. And you cannot be just a dualist, because then you're denying something. You cannot just be Bhakti Yoga, because true Bhakti Yoga understands Jnana Yoga and feels Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. So all these things, you see, this is a challenge in life, that God says if your heart is totally open, then your tree will be balanced. You cannot have a tree that's only growing in one direction only and be beautiful. It has to be growing in all the directions because the sun travels around sufficiently to give balance to all things. This is what I want to say to them.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Remain indulged yet inactive, in tune yet inaudible, without intention of income, come in just the coming in. Now no more words, just inwards.